when you grade a team like the Panthers with what they did with the draft, you obviously have to grade the trade because that had everything to do with it. And look, with Carolina, and I put Carolina's, for me, I thought Carolina actually, because of the trade, had a very good draft. And that is overall because they were able to get the quarterback they wanted, the first pick in the draft, and that trumped everything else. And if it wasn't for that, when I look at the rest of the draft, which is only 4 other players because of the trade, yeah, there were some questions there. I questioned the Mingo deal with other receivers available, but hey, if he works out, fine. But again, I think that we know how hard it is to find a franchise quarterback. And even if none of these other guys in this draft pan out, if Bryce Young becomes the player that we all think he can be, it is a very good draft for Carolina.
Yeah, that's the perfect way to sum it up, Greg. If Bryce Young is the guy, you're not going to – everything else in this draft class is just potential icing on the cake. And if none of them are in the league in 4 years, but Bryce Young is a star, you're still not going to care. DJ Johnson was a big reach to me.
Yeah.
I was really surprised to see his name come across.
Why do you
in the
think
third
they
round.
did that?
Tools. I mean, I think he's measured in at 6'3", 260 plus, crushed his workout. And there was already rumors that Oregon did not use him correctly in 2022, new defensive scheme. And, whether you believe that or not, I mean, I did have DJ Johnson as a top 100 player heading into the season. And I thought that his lack of production and his lack of ability to refine himself as a secondary pass rusher, backup rush moves, right? What do you do when you initially get beat? It just bumped him down to like the 5th, 6th round tier. But I did think that 3-4, the new 3-4 outside defensive scheme that they're going to run, new defensive coordinator there, they are starving for another pure outside linebacker pass rusher. Yep. And this might have been a pick where it was a little bit based on need. I mean, there's players available that I thought were graded higher, but the position, the macro level approach was not a bad one.
Yeah, because a couple of things. Well, the Mingo deal also, the reason why I was a little bit surprised is because I don't look at it, I didn't look at the wide receiver position as a really big need. I think, hey, it's a good, add another good receiver there. Thalen's an older guy. I get it. You don't know how long Shark's going to be there. And you really don't even know if Terrace Marshall's going to develop into a number 1 at this point. So, hey, all right, fine. But I would have liked to have maybe seen that pick go on defense. They did not add any other corners in the entire draft. And the only DB they added was Robinson in the 5th. That would be my biggest concern.
Yeah, and they got one of the best values in the undrafted free agents period at Rajon Wright, the corner from Oregon State. But I agree with you, to walk into this season with Dante Jackson, and who knows what they're doing with Jeremy Chin. I think he's going to go back to safety. But Eric Rowe is your
is that like your answer in the offseason to another DB? Is Eric Rowe? Is that it?
Yeah, that's a rough answer right there. I mean, they might be shopping for another corner at some point in the coming months, but I agree. Mingo was a guy that's going to probably be your number 4 receiver this year.
And and he better be the number 1 or 2 receiver by next year.
Yep, I agree with you. So maybe a little bit of a hedge. Terrace Marshall, he's been a little up and down in his 2 years. DJ Shark, Adam Thielen, you know what you're getting out of those guys.
Solid, yeah.
But you're not. But they are potentially. That was a little bit of a questionable decision there.
I mean,
just concerning.
I can only look at it as, look, our offensive line is solid. We've got good running backs now. We've brought in Hurst, so we set there. You know what? We need to give Bryce Young another young weapon. Someone, and they obviously really like the kid. And maybe he turns out to be a lot better than I'm thinking. But and maybe if it would have been another receiver, I would have been a little bit more okay with. But were you surprised it was Mingo?
I was. There was a cluster of receivers there that, you could make an argument that Mingo is in that cluster. Okay. So basically, based on his skill set, he's one of the few receivers at the top of this draft that had real size to him. That maybe that's just, schematically, that's what they wanted to do, is just get a little bit more size to maybe offset what they have a quarterback now. But yeah, I if I was calling the shots there's probably 2 or 3 receivers I would have taken in front of Mingo.
And then before we move on, you mentioned Wright, Rajon Wright, as an undrafted free agent. They also added Cam Peoples, who I talked about. I like Peoples. Keep an eye on him. He is what he is. Big bruiser, but that's okay. Nothing wrong with having those guys on your team. And they added Jalen Redmond. So they did pretty good after the draft.
I like the kid from Auburn too, Iku Leota, the outside linebacker. And that's an organization that, outside linebacker spots will be there for the taking. So I thought they had one of the better undrafted free agency periods.